I wouldn't say I was like gaining immense weight, but I wasn't getting healthier. And I kind of just I ran Marine Corps Marathon virtually last year. And when I was training for it, I was like, man, I hurt. And then I got on a scale and I was like, man, I weigh 240 pounds. That's why. Like I used to like walk around at like 190, like even after the military, like I was like 195 to 210, depending on what I had for breakfast. And I just said like, I'm going to run this marathon because I was already like months into training. And I was like, as soon as I can walk right, I'm going to go and do jiu-jitsu because it was something that I heard was really good. And
I've always been enamored with it.
It's crazy.
What you're saying, like what you're saying. I thought I was too, obviously I'm not too over the hill because you're doing it.
No, I'm in the grave, man. I got 1 foot in there, but I didn't know what to expect. And that's what and the funniest part is it's one of those things where it's like, as I found more out about it, I realized that I wasn't on like a solo journey. Like this is no secret. This is just not being talked about. Yeah. The communal aspect of it is as strong, if not stronger, than like the actual technical. And there's like all this stuff you see. So jiu-jitsu is a lifestyle. The reason it's a lifestyle is because you cannot be a solo. Like if you like to run, you can go out and run and race people, and then you get in your car and you go home. You're in there and you have total and complete humility. Like there are people who have been and are doing jiu-jitsu for 25, 35, 40 years, and they're still learning. So there's no like expectation of, hey, if you're really good at this, you're going to be awesome in 2 months, 90 days. No, like you see that. You see people and you're like, oh, hey, how long have you been here? And they're like, oh, I've been doing this 5 years. And you watch them with the level of attention, with like a crazy high level of attention, listen to the coach or the professor talk, and you're like, okay, so I have no room. Like it, and on top of that, I personally enjoy I like puzzles. Like I won't sit down and do a puzzle because I feel like it's a waste of time, but I like being challenged.
Yeah.
So you have you have systems and you have approaches, and if you played like board games or something and you have to pick like how to approach a problem, that's what jiu-jitsu is. You're anticipating your body type, their body type. But through this, you're also like busting your – so you're like getting out of breath. You're soaked in sweat. Your heart rate's going crazy. You know, if you look at like the hierarchy of needs, like breathing's pretty high. Like breathing's like –
it's kind of like number one.
Yeah, right? Circulation's right after it. So what I found in this is with a lot of stuff going on, and I talked about white noise, is in jiu-jitsu, it was one of the things that I could focus on, and there was no getting into that room. There has been times where like, you know, like my AC broke last week and it's $2,000 bill that I have to think about how I'm going to process that and pay for it and pay for life. When I'm in there and in that I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about the person in front of me who is looking to take my oxygen away or make me nap or, you know, snap something. Yeah. And while that sounds like kind of like barbaric, you can't find that level of concentration. You just can't. You can say you like rowing or driving, but
I was building a trail on my property back home in Washington State when I was on vacation, and that was like the only thing I thought about for about 2 hours. I forget how important that is to just get away from the noise like you're talking about.
And it's like, it's another thing too. It's because everybody's on their own journey and it's such a large group. You maybe only be able to go 1 day a week. Okay. Well, you're on your journey. Like I go 4-7 times a week. There's somebody that goes 10 times a week, but because of that, it's not like you and I, and if you get better than me in an area or all together, I'm going to be happy for you that you're progressing. And that was one of the things that I'll be completely honest. I associated it with Marine Corps martial arts where, you know, you do some exercises, you have one match. And if you get tapped out, you're the biggest piece of garbage and everyone makes fun of you. Like when I got like tapped out like 18 times my first 6-minute roll. Like I was like, I don't know what you're doing, man. And he's like, okay, I'll do something else. And I'm like, tap, tap, tap. Like, and he's like, oh, don't put your knee there. And then like I would block it, and then he'd do something else and tap me. I'm like, he's like, don't put your other knee there. And it was, and I start at first you're just like overwhelmed. But you're overwhelmed, but it's fun. And my favorite thing to tell people about is like, if you were in the military and you had a moment where you were miserable and exhausted, but you sat there and laughed about it after a hike, after a conditioning session, whatever, and you laughed, that's what the end of every jiu-jitsu class is like. We gotta get them one way or the other. Machine gun, fight bullets fly day and night.